Now, some of you may know I was just at the Healing for the Ages conference over in Dallas, Texas recently, and one of the most common, and I was there with my dad, and one of the most common questions that we would get together was like, "Oh, are you two brothers?" So, and dad is like obviously not my brother, but today my dad is going to show you how to look like you're 30, that's my age, when you're 55. So that's what we're going to go through today. We're going to go through dad's everyday protocol to make sure he looks 30 when he's 55, and something that you guys can do as well. Now, remember, before we get into that, if you'd like a permaculture consultation, just did one yesterday, and if you'd like to do some soil biology testing, hit up the email down below. And if you want to learn everything you can, or everything that I know about permaculture itself, then hit up the permaculture design course down below as well. That's on Patreon. You can get in for as little as $5. That being said, let's get into dad's health protocol. All right, so here's my dad and his trusty dog Milk Boy. What do you do every day? Because we're getting the same comments every single day, or whether or not you're my brother. I'm 30, you're 55. So how do you stay looking 30 at the age of 55?
Well, at the end of the day, you got to give all credit to the good Lord, but really, I start every morning. And I've been reluctant to tell anybody about the protocol I do because it sounds a little bit convoluted or crazy. But right off the bat, and I'm going to try to reference as many people as I possibly can as far as how I go about doing things. First thing when I get up in the morning, as soon as I'm conscious, first thing I do is thank the Lord. Thank Him for this day, thank Him for my family, thank Him for our health, thank Him for the life we have, thank Him for everything right off the bat. And then I do my Bible. I'm trying to memorize all of Psalms. So for me, that's one of the best times where my recall is really, really great. So the area that I may have been studying or struggling on, I start off in my brain and I'm going through, okay, picking up where I left off. And then 9 times out of 10, you'd be shocked at how well it works. So start there. And then I make sure that I have physical contact. My wife is usually laying there. I'll go get her cat, come back in the room. And then I'm still doing, believe it or not, this is part of my morning routine, is to make absolutely sure that I reassure her and I'm praying for her, over her, as I'm rubbing her back or something, just making sure she knows she's loved, and I'm thanking the Lord for all that I have. And then I walk off this porch as soon as the sun, depending on time of year, but it's always going to come over that mountain at some point. This time of year, it's more over that way a little bit. And it doesn't really start off early, but it is absolutely critical. And by the way, the first part, as far as starting your day off with positive thoughts, I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And now there's not all of his work that I take, but the initial parts of it, and I've gone through his course.
Now, while I'm editing this video, I thought it'd be a good idea to give you guys kind of a disclaimer and also let you guys know that everybody that Dad is going to be referencing in this video, as far as where he got the information, will be linked down below in the description box. So if you want that information, just follow the links in the description box and it'll take you to the specific people that Dad's talking about. Now, the disclaimer, Dr. Joe Dispenza, I don't recommend really anybody go and check out his stuff, just because it's very easy to be misled into the latter parts of his course, where you start seeing like apparitions and entities and stuff like that. Should you meditate on scripture? Absolutely. Should you meditate on the Most High's law? Absolutely. Those are good things to meditate on. So keep in mind that Dr. Joe Dispenza starts with very, very, benign meditation practices at first. And then you start getting into some pretty crazy stuff. So just forewarning, does he give good information at first? Yes, but it's to lead you into something else. Remember, the enemy doesn't tempt you with things that are ugly and painful. He tempts you with things that feel good and are beautiful. So just keep that in mind.
That's where I got that from. The next part I got from Dr. Jack Cruz, and that is the importance of getting morning sun. If you don't get that right, nothing else falls in line. You have got to get that morning sun. And when I say get it, folks, I am literally looking at it, directly at it as it comes over the mountain. Now, you can only do that depending on time of year, depending on your latitude. You can only do it for so long. Now, the sun's up there right now. You might be able to see it cracking through. But as it's coming over that mountain, I'm standing here, and for you and anybody else, that's when your body, believe it or not, is starting to make melatonin that it's going to use later that night. So I'm looking directly at it, and I'll look at it anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, depending on what health challenges you may have. You may want to look at it, longer. So you want to start that off that way. And then we get hopping and popping on our chores, which is a lot of it's down there. It's really all over, but down in that high tunnel, when we get done with our chores and everything, we move the sheep. Everything moves every single day. And when you have this level of moisture out here, you know, we're all over it. So we go over here, move the chickens, move the sheep. May not be in that order. I got some chickens in another spot that I'm working on. Those are kind of an experiment that I got going on. We get all those things done. And then at the end of what we're doing there, I pick up what I'm going to eat for breakfast, but I don't actually eat breakfast the way most people do. Now, Jack Cruz suggests that you do it immediately after you do your morning sun. You can, but my stomach's really not ready for it by then. So let me go get what I eat for breakfast, and I'm going to show it to you right here.
Now, before you do that, everybody's going to be calling out that what looks like an Apple Watch on your wrist. Now, it's not an Apple Watch. What is that?
This, believe it or not, is the first version of a wave watch, and everybody is taking me to task on this thing because the watch is not at all. It has no, in fact, I've taken my RF meter and I put it up there. I've checked it for magnetism. I've checked it for electrical. I've checked it for RF, all of it. It gives off a negligible signature when it comes to magnetism. But what it's doing, what I have it for, has 1,000 different tones on it, but I only really use a couple of them. One is anxiety. Whenever I got to find myself in crowds, which I'm not crazy about, unless there are people that I'm, have some kind of affinity with, or I put it on solfeggio tones. I'm about to do another experiment down in the high tunnel where I take this watch and I stick it in the bed for a couple of hours a day and on the solfeggio tones. Now, those are the healing frequencies, okay? I believe there's 7 or maybe 9 of them. Anyway, it cycles through those throughout the day. And so when I'm out and about, I usually don't wear it so much around the house, but I do sometimes where maybe you might feel a little bit uptight. Maybe you didn't do the meditation you should be doing. Maybe you're just a little bit off, then, or maybe you got some pains or whatever. So it's really effective. In fact, for the longest time, didn't even believe that the thing worked until I saw it work on your mom. And I saw how quickly it took her endometriosis problems, did a 180 on it right off the bat. So, yeah, I wear that thing. I mean, I'm going to definitely miss some stuff in this, but man, because I'm doing a whole lot in terms of, look, we live in a very, very rugged environment. And I knew early on that if I don't get my health in order, because I'm already, I'm 55. Most people are thinking about how do they retire. Look, this is the work I love. And if I can't physically do it, I have to physically climb these mountains. There is no UTV or anything else that's going to do anything up these steeper parts. And honestly, every time you use one of those too often, it's damaging your soil. So I want to make absolutely sure that I'm not, I'm not creating more problems. But let me talk about the salad that I eat every single day of the year. Let me go get that and we'll talk about what's in it. Now, I would have collected, I'll get to what's in here in a second. I would have collected.
Boy's trying to get it.
You're not getting this, boy. I would have collected all of this down there. Like I said, I'll come to that in a minute. But after we're done and I got everything sitting in a bowl, I'll put it in the kitchen and I will go in there. Now, I sometimes do it before I even get started. I do a method. It's called static breath holds, and I got that and it was also a guy that I learned from Dr. Jack Cruz. His name is Erwin, E-R-W-I-N, Lacore, L-A-C-O-R-R-E. Absolute genius. Has a different kind of breathing method that is much better, believe it or not, than Wim Hof. Is using static breath holds. Anyway, he's got a class, he's got a course on it. I started off being able to hold my breath initially, like maybe a minute and a half. Now I'm up to 2 minutes and 36 seconds. And I'm doing this over and over and over again about 8 times. And what it does for your body is astonishing. Anyway, I will have come up after doing the chores, get inside the house, go back out, face the sun. Keep in mind, I'm not messing with my phone at all. And it's important because I'm making sure that I'm staying away from any kind of blue light until there's blue light in the environment, which is about right now. It's close to noon. Okay, so you have blue light in the environment. Your phone only gives off blue light unless you change it over, unless you triple click it to the right. And then you can eliminate most of it, but some of it's still there, so you want to be careful. So I'm watching my light discipline when I get up in the morning. So if there's any chance of me having any interaction with blue light at all, I'm wearing my blue light blockers, but it's still not the perfect fix. You want to get rid of that stuff in your house in any way you possibly can, because blue light in and of itself, which is what these LEDs all are, is absolutely deleterious to your health. So I've gone through and I'm trying to eliminate every bit of that. Anyway, got up from the chores, go inside, do my Urban Liqueur breathing. While I'm doing the breathing, I'm also doing my Bible study. I'm listening to the audio Bible as I'm doing it. So that's also, and I'm going through a different part of the Bible every single day. So when I'm done with that, and I'm also doing it while grounded, and my grounding mats are going to an independent ground that is outside. So as we do in permaculture, how do I say it? I'm basically,
You have multiple teachers. You're taking the best from all these different teachers and applying it to yourself.
not only that, but also stacking functions.
Yeah.
So I'm also listening to my audio Bible, putting good things in my brain at the same time I'm doing my breathing and also grounding at the same time. Now, if the weather's nice, if it's not, cold out or something, I'll do this inside. If not, I will be outside if the sun's shining, even if it isn't. And that's, I'm driving on. Now, it's starting to get into midday and I still haven't eaten.
Now, hold on. Before we get into that salad, you do have an important event coming up next year. Do you want to tell them about that at all?
Yeah, that's going to be the Sovereign Health Summit. William will have a discount code that he'll probably leave in this video. We're going to have Barbara O'Neill out there, but we're going to do something that I don't think has ever been done before. We're taking people from herbalists, the Barbara O'Neill types. We got people that are talking about circadian health, which is a lot of what I'm talking about right now. People that are so far on the fringes that have incredible things that have impacted my life in a massive way. And I want to evangelize it just like we do with permaculture to everybody out there. And we want to make it affordable. So it's going to be in Harmony, North Carolina. It's called Sovereign Health, the Sovereign Health Summit. Like I said, Barbara O'Neill is going to be there 5 days. She's going to be talking maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Dr. Henry Ely, Dr. Lee Merritt, and a number of others out there that are going to be knocking the socks off of everything you think you know. People that have helped me in a big way, I want to bring them out to everybody and make it as affordable as I possibly can, whether you're watching online or whether you're there in person. So we're hoping to have a whole bunch of people there in person. And then we're also being very careful about the vendors we bring in. We're making sure we don't have any people associated with any kind of witchcraft, some of the stuff I've seen in some of these other events. But anyway, that's going to be going next year. Like I said, William will have a discount code and you can save 5%. We can't even make it any lower because, folks, the tickets are insanely inexpensive already. Most people are charging $1,000 for most of her events. And that's just with Barbara. I don't feel good charging that kind of money, and it's not about completely aggrandizing myself at the expense of everybody else. It's like, can we put on something that's really awesome, make it inexpensive, and pack a whole bunch of wonderful teachers in there. So back to before I've even eaten, now this time at the latitude I'm at, I have this app, and I would hope everybody would get it. It's called D-Minder. And depending on your haplotype or your skin type or whatever the case, it tells you how much vitamin D you should get a day. You don't necessarily need it, but people that have more melanin in their skin like me have to be really, really cautious about how much vitamin D you're getting, because most people of mixed race or black people or whatever the case may be, you're not getting anywhere near enough vitamin D, not even close. I thought I was, but I was doing everything backwards. So I've done all these other things. Now I will literally come out here, stand behind the truck, whatever the case may be. The sun's now high in the sky when the vitamin D is going, but I want to make myself as much of a solar panel as I possibly can. So I strip down completely naked, and that's where I do my Bible memorization. I'm literally, so because your back tends to get less when you're trying to get that vitamin D. So like I said, I'm trying to memorize all of Psalm. This is where I'm actually putting it into practice. So I'm standing out here and I'm reciting everything I've memorized thus far. And so far it takes me about 20 minutes to get through nonstop. I have, I don't know, maybe 11 of them memorized so far. So it takes me about 20 minutes to get through that. And so for the first, I don't know, 3 Psalms, I'm facing toward the sun. And the last ones, I'm making sure my back's getting, sufficient exposure to vitamin D. So now the vitamin D's out here, now I can use my phone. So I will literally come outside, when they're not chemtrailing us half to death. I'll come outside and I got my phone and I'm doing whatever clerical business I need to do right here in the sun with no clothes on. I know that sounds crazy, but folks, that's exactly what I'm doing. And it doesn't matter the time of year. So I'm out here doing that. If I got to use my phone, I'm making sure, A, I don't have any, I'm grounded. So whatever negativity is coming out of that phone is going straight to ground. And I'm also offsetting the blue light that's coming off of that thing with the red that I'm getting naturally from. I'm getting full spectrum from the sun. So it's less damaging to your health to be able to do that. And so I try to get as much as I possibly can. Now I do have alternate means inside. I do have red light therapy panels, which don't give you any vitamin D, but they're very helpful to your mitochondria. But it's like Dr. Cruz says, TINA. It's an acronym. It stands for there is no alternative. So the sun's number one. If I can't get the sun or it's raining or whatever the case, I do have what's called a Sperti light, S-P-E-R-T-I. You can also look out in your app. And I can use that to get the vitamin D that I need from an alternative means if I have to. So yeah, people might say, oh, you live a Spartan existence out there, but truth of it is, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, you feel so much better. Now, let me come down to what we're eating. So in here, everything you see in that salad was sourced right here on this farm. The peppers, and I want as many different kinds of colors as I can. The anthocyanins and all those, I got blueberries that I picked. I mean, I don't have them in this one, but I usually have them in there. Beets that I'm about to yank out of there, okay? Absolutely fantastic for you. The tomatoes literally came out there. We got basil, spinach. Oh shoot, there's like 4 different greens in here.
It's not so much the green species themselves, is it, or is it as it is the fact that you grew it on your property? There's a bunch of different colors.
That is
and it's super local.
Absolutely. So you want to, and this is something else I got from Logan from Sowing Prosperity podcast, which he of course got from Dr. Jack Cruz. You want it to be as local as possible and as fresh as possible and as seasonal as possible. This will be the first year I actually put it all into play. The only thing you see in here that isn't absolutely off this farm is that blue cheese. And also the nuts that William and Emily brought out from their place. That's not the end of the world. And there's also some Brazil nuts in there because we are selenium depleted out here, which I'm replacing. You're going to get, with 3 Brazil nuts, you're going to get all the selenium you need in a day. So I got those in there. Those are the only things that didn't grow on this farm. Everything else came from this farm.
That's awesome.
So, plus it has an electromagnetic barcode for your body and for your place when you're able to source it as local as possible. So it may not have come from you, but you want to try and get it as seasonal and as local as possible. Just pulled a bunch of potatoes out of here, got them. So that's exactly the newest thing that I'm adding to all that I'm doing right now. So now I've been fasting probably, that's also another part of the regimen. It's because your body, when it hits autophagy, it's doing all kinds of repairs. I'm fasting, closing in on 24 hours so far. It's not a big deal to me. And that's another thing, that when I fly, when I'm doing whatever else, I can not have to eat because I don't want to eat anything that's coming off these airports or in these planes. So I can either fast, because Lord knows they ain't going to let you bring it on. So I'll just fast until I get where I'm going, and then I'll eat what's in that barcode, you know. So that's the part. Okay, so now I've shown you what I've eaten. Midday, I'll eat lunch and dinner maybe, or not at all. And sometimes I may go for several days without eating. So that's also helping as well. There's a whole lot, folks, that I'm leaving out here. But
yeah, there is a lot that Dad does every day. And there's a lot of things that you test too. So just because you're doing it right now doesn't mean, especially if you find something that works better.
That's right.
So it is constant evolvement as far as like your health routine and your health regimen and stuff like that. But the main thing, we were kind of talking about this earlier, is not using just one person's method.
Right.
Use the methods that work, no matter who came up with those methods.
Exactly. I'm not married to anybody's idea. There are principles that I'm married to, you know, things that are non-negotiables: getting morning sun, getting as much D as I possibly can, breathing, and you're just going to feel better by doing those things. But honestly, when the evening is where a lot of people kind of lose it when it comes to your light controls. So I've changed out all the LEDs in my house because they're all blue light. It's the worst thing in the world for your body. You want to get incandescents if you can. Full spectrum incandescent light bulbs. Do what you beg, borrow, steal, do whatever you got to do. And then put them on a dimmer if you can, or even just get downright red lights. Because there is no, you start losing blue light in your environment, but they got us all, our computers are all blue light. Our light bulbs are all blue light. So I'm trying to avoid as much of that as I possibly can. So, and William can tell you, being here, when the sun starts going down, I got my blue light blockers on no matter what.
Yeah.
And because there's little insidious, really pernicious things. It could be the coffee maker. It could be the refrigerator, as you can attest. I mean, I got blue light. I got red lights over all the stuff in my refrigerator. But there's always those little sneaky things that you didn't think about, or somebody else may be around that don't, maybe they don't have their phone on, whatever. So I'm just having precautions.
Basically, don't be staring at your phone past that blue light spectrum. Don't be watching TV late into the night unless you're putting on. I mean, I understand that there are times where you have to do that, but don't make it like a routine. Put on like a red filter if at all possible.
Well,
that's just keep it off.
Well, that's another thing. I've talked about that Roscoe 19 fire that I put over the TV. If you want to watch TV, which it ain't been on the whole time you've been here.
No.
I mean, the TV just ain't something we do. Any day of the week, I'd rather crack open a book. But if you are going to do the TV, remember these light detectors are all over your body, even on your skin. So even though your eyes, they're the most consequential, even though your eyes may not be getting hit by it, your skin is. So I got a red light blocker. Maybe William can show you that. That's right over the TV. So if you ever turn it on, there's no blue light coming out of that thing. And because I've tried every blue light blocker on the market for a TV, there ain't one of them that works, not one. So I found a $30 solution by buying this Roscoe, they call it Roscoe 19 fire that they use in Hollywood that cuts out all the blue light. So, and you'll know whether or not it's working. If you got some good light, blue light blocker glasses and you think you got something that works, look at it, put your blockers on. If that color changes at all, you know you ain't got it right. So now we're weaving into the nighttime. Try to get in bed definitely no later than 9:30 or 10. And then be back up at dark 30. And then while I'm sleeping, that's another thing. Turn your Wi-Fi off if you got it. Turn it off completely. And I'm working on things that mitigate the effects of those Wi-Fi. I'm trying them out, like William said, I'm trying them out right now. A lot of shams on the market, but I think I may have one that actually works. But I'll let y'all know when I do. And so it's things like that, turning off the Wi-Fi. I sleep on 320 pounds of magnets every day. I guess I haven't told folks about that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 320 pounds of magnets that are underneath my mattress. It's from a place called Magnetico. You can look them out at their website and find out what it does. I don't know that you have to do that, but if you do sleep grounded, which I highly recommend, only get the grounding mat and then put your fitted sheet over it. And if you ground it, do not plug it under any circumstances. Do not plug it into, even though it's set up to be able to plug into your electrical, the grounding thing on your house, never do that. There's so much dirty power coming up and down this line. Believe me, I'm a journeyman electrician with 30 years experience. I would under no circumstance do that. They sell independent grounded, so put it out the window. You can still shut your window on it. Plug that thing in independently into a place where it's not being polluted. I highly recommend that. So I did it for every room in the house where Emily and the baby and you were sleeping. Yeah. Absolutely important to do that so your body can be absolutely healing at night in a massive way. So those are some of the big things right there to be off and running.
So there you go, guys. That's how my dad stays looking about 30 when he's 55, according to a lot of people at the festival. They were all asking like, hey, are you guys brothers? And nope, he's my dad. But remember the Sovereign Health Summit next year. That's going to be in October in Harmony, North Carolina. Also, people were asking me recently where I got comfrey from. I said it in the video, but sometimes people miss it. But this is where I get it from, permapasturesfarm.com. That's where you get comfrey from.
Don't forget about your discount code. What's that going to be for the Sovereign Health Summit? Because it'll get you 5% off, folks. I know there's people doing more, but we're hundreds cheaper than everybody else. Or you know, but we want to offer discounts. So
Yeah, it's TPC. It'll all be linked down below. Capital T, capital P, capital C. The Permaculture Consultant. That's where that came from. It'll all be linked down below. All the information will be linked down below as well, especially what you guys saw during this video. So, any last words?
no, stay alert, stay alive.
All right, we'll see you next time.